over there, please. Get the scene going.
Okay, quiet everyone, quiet in the set. Bill, you ready?
Oh, I've been ready all day, Mel.
Ed, could you get your mark, please?
I'm ready to go, Mel. I've been ready.
Okay, Talbot of Canada, scene 199, take one.
And action!
While the script for Talbot of Canada was based on historical documents and diaries by James Coyne, Edward Ermatinger, and Elizabeth Simcoe, screenwriter Hilda Mary Hook took some liberties for dramatic purposes. However, the real story of Colonel Thomas Talbot is just as fascinating as any piece of fiction. Thomas Talbot was born in his family's ancestral castle near Dublin, Ireland on July 19, 1771. At 11, he secured an army commission. 5 years later, he made a name for himself by becoming aide-de-camp to the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, Lord Buckingham. At the end of Buckingham's term, Talbot sailed to Quebec to join his regiment, where his connections secured him a job as secretary to the new Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada, Colonel John Graves Simcoe. In 1793, Talbot accompanied Simcoe on his legendary expedition across southern Ontario. It was the first time Talbot visited the future sites of London and St. Thomas, areas he would one day dominate. In 1800, Talbot surprised his family and friends by selling his military commission. After extensive lobbying, he was awarded a large land grant in Upper Canada, 5,000 acres, as well as an additional 200 for each settler he located on 50 acres of his original grant. The new settlement, founded in May of 1803, grew slowly until Talbot realized that a good road would attract settlers. He had that road laid out from his base of operations at Port Talbot. It stretched east to the settlements near Long Point and west to Sandwich, now Windsor. The road would be known as the Talbot Trail, and it changed the face of southwestern Ontario.
Now Canada was strengthened by a rising flood of settlers from Britain. Here, close to the shores of Lake Erie, Colonel Thomas Talbot, an English despot in the Canadian backwoods, gathered in 30,000 settlers and founded the town of St. Thomas, which he named after himself.
As the names of land applicants multiplied on Talbot's settlement map, the colonel had the luxury of enforcing settlement duties. Land applicants were ordered to clear the road allowance in front of their lots, clear their acreage, and build a house. If they didn't, their names and their rights to the land vanished from the map. Some rejected applicants became so violent, Talbot began conducting all interviews through an audience window to protect himself. But Talbot's tenacity worked. Over the course of 30 years, he settled portions of 29 townships in southwestern Ontario, with a total population of about 30,000. If anyone was responsible for turning millions of acres of wilderness into a civilization, it was Colonel Thomas Talbot. And Talbot could inspire loyalty in the settlers he trusted. Tribute dinners were held in his honor and continued for decades after his death. But the supreme test of his settlers' loyalty occurred when rebellion threatened to overthrow the local government. Talbot fought back by rallying the people around him. In March 1832, he nailed up a proclamation calling for a meeting of his settlers at St. Thomas. Here, he roundly condemned the reformers as a set of infamous and worthless ruffians.
Colony, but despite all my care, a few black sheep, some afflicted with the rot, have crept into my flock. The rebels have commenced their work of darkness under the cover of organizing damned cold water drinking societies, where they meet at night to communicate their poisonous and seditious schemes to each other and to devise the best mode of circulating the infection. And wary.
Few of his settlers joined the rebellion of 1837, which was quickly suppressed. But the incident proved Talbot's days as a Lake Erie land baron were coming to an end.
Petitions, a thing of trash and sedition, founded on falsehood, fabricated for the purpose of creating discontent.
The old man survived long enough to become a living legend, passing away in London on February the 5th, 1853, at the age of 81. In his will, he left the bulk of his estate to his servant, George Macbeth, and his nephew, Richard Erie. Today, tributes to Talbot still exist in Middlesex and Elgin counties. A memorial cairn was dedicated near the site of Malahide House, his centre of operations for nearly 50 years. The historic London courthouse was reportedly modelled after Talbot's ancestral home. The Talbot Trail, built under the Colonel's orders, still connects communities across the coast of Lake Erie. The city of St. Thomas and street signs across the area bear the Colonel's name. Over the years, school children have learned about Talbot in their history classes, and lavish historical pageants have depicted his story. Thomas Talbot's final resting place can be found in a rural churchyard at Tyrconnell, overlooking the waters of Lake Erie. The Colonel isn't alone. He is surrounded by the pioneers who followed him into the wilderness of southwestern Ontario. More than 150 years after his death, the work of Colonel Thomas Talbot maintains a bond with their families.
It was exactly 150 years ago that 17 hardy pioneers landed on the cliff-rimmed shore at Tyrconnell. Yesterday, their descendants completed a unique pilgrimage, a reunion on the site of their forefathers' first home in the New World. According to their unique custom, they meet at Tyrconnell every 50 years. The next gathering will be July 14th in the year 2009. By then, their children will be grandparents and themselves custodians of the history of their clans.